Hi guys, welcome to episode 2 of our podcast. We are group 9 from class 3230, Emotions and Motivation. And I'm Paul Leva.
I'm Jessica.
And I'm Mitzi. So I'm going to start this off with an article that I researched about and I found pretty interesting. So I found an article that talked about social media use and how it impacts well-being. So the researchers studied social media within adolescents over a 10-day period. And the results found that increased social media use was actually linked to lower well-being, and in-person interactions actually impacted well-being in a more positive way. And I thought that was pretty interesting because now with like the pandemic, everything's online and people don't really have in-person interactions anymore. So everything they and everyone they interact with is usually online through like text messages or video chats or like video calls, phone calls, anything like that. So it was interesting to know that online interactions were actually more negative than positive. And
it came out as negative?
it came out as negative from interactions. Oh, and in-person interactions are actually more positive.
I found from going from that, because it sounded similar to like the article that I found, and it was about schizophrenics, and that's why I was confused of saying it had a negative impact, because for me, I was assuming, like, do you think people online will get bullied and stuff like that if they start sharing some sort of like information on their mental illness?
And I feel like it's mixed.
It sounds like it's mixed. Yeah,
it's kind of very in between about what the fine line goes to.
Yeah,
it's like,
but for
some degree people
are
kind of
schizophrenic people were using Facebook and Twitter to find groups, like little communities. And they made some sort of algorithm to like read the comments to see what was positive, and they had more positives.
Well, I feel like when it comes to like Facebook, I think that's what Facebook kind of is known for, having like different social groups, give or take what that term is called. So I feel like that would be very accommodating when it comes to that particular. And then Twitter, I feel like you can find almost anybody, any type of group, any person, any liking, just by like typing or putting something down, and then all of a sudden you automatically get 5 people that agree with you on whatever it is you're saying. Like that's just the way Twitter, I think, works. And that's really fair.
You got like-minded people looking for the same type of stuff, sharing the same information. You
got 100%.
The communities forming. That's like one of the very good positives of like sharing experiences. And I guess I know that our topic is about adolescence, but there could be issues with adolescent people where they can communicate to people under certain circumstances, maybe being monitored of what they're sharing and how they're sharing it. So social media is being able to look for advice, people like very motivational people for these kids, I would say.
They even create support groups.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, most definitely. I feel like, and like creating safe spaces. I definitely feel like this conversation is kind of leading towards my topic or my like article that I was researching for. Having, it does have its like pros and cons, but I think the pro as is very leaning towards what we were talking about right now, having a support group, being able to find common interests and interacting with each other. But at the same time, as we said before, the con can also be, it does lead into more dark instances. A lot of people get more suicidal, more depressive, and less wanting to involve themselves in things. And I think that's also where the fine line, like Mitzi was saying, there is a big difference as to the scope of how talking about and expressing the feelings that they were having can go right or left on the path of what we choose to. And I think it's a very like difficult line to associate. Like, okay, what's like gonna lead me to make sure I feel better, or what's this gonna make me feel a whole lot worse? Because I feel like I get that way. Like it's like when I feel bad and like when I'm listening to music and then all of a sudden I'm having a bad day and the sad music comes on my playlist and I feel like that's all I'm listening to. Yeah, it's not the greatest feeling.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It's definitely, something that is in the works of, social media itself that can be changed, but at the same time, it also makes a big impact for others about how they're able to connect and, you know, give other resolutions and solutions to better their circumstances.
Mhm.
Yeah, it kind of sounds like another article that I saw. There was a study um, that examined different posts and comments and online interactions about like self-harm on Instagram, Twitter, and Reddit. And a lot of like the forums online were just people trying to get advice and like learn different coping strategies. And since like they can relate to each other because people obviously everyone feels down at one point and everyone could relate to that. So they go online and they go for that social support from like strangers who they don't even know, but sometimes they provide more support than people close to them.
Because they have the
Mm.
experience with it too. Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like that was a big thing that came up. Like you were saying, I remember seeing that around the time when like Tumblr was first kind of like popping off in like
Oh, yeah, I
the
remember Tumblr.
early like 2000s. Like I feel like that was like a big thing of like talking about like mental health and like depression. That was very much kind of in a sense romanticized, not in the greatest sense I think as it should have, but I feel like that was a good example to like connect it with that I remember seeing just personally, and it just kind of to me it rubbed me the wrong way because I feel like it does a misconception like it's cool to like have those feelings and like, oh, like I if I don't feel like that then I'm not like everybody else. No, if you don't feel like that that should be good. You shouldn't be wanting to have those struggles because it's not easy. So I think the misconception when it comes to the youth of, what is okay and what isn't is very much steered on the, you know, line of trying to figure out what is, needed to put attention on and what isn't at
I think it's the
at
need to
times.
relate. It's probably
Oh
like
yeah.
the need to like relate and try to. Well, I guess there's no other way to say it is other than to relate. People want to be part of a group. People
Hmm.
want to not feel alone, and that could go in two ways. It could go both
Hmm.
ways.
Oh
It's
yeah.
you could follow the wrong group and adopt some bad traits from them, or if you really have some sort of problem with you, you could find a group and talk it out. Because
Hmm.
it's kind of like it's like therapy, having someone to talk to. That's
Oh
basically what
yeah.
therapy is, anyways. It's
Hmm.
talking. If you're not
Letting out whatever
other than
you're like
medication, but
on your mind, and like just having like a safe space of just
that's
letting
exactly,
something
yeah,
off your
safe
chest.
space.
Hmm.
That's the one.
Hmm. I feel like it kind of goes into another article. I was like looking at like, particular interests and like, expressing themselves and like sharing based off experiences, like you were saying, and maybe something going at home or regarding the bullying or whatever. They're able to find a comfort spot in the access of having social media like YouTube. I feel like this article is mainly based off of YouTubers about just them able to share their experiences amongst a large audience and then gaining followers because of that relatability. Like I feel like there was a good period of time in like the 2000s also, or 2010s even, where like a lot of creators were very relatable, very authentic, and they were so like, you know, just easy to relate to. And the
And YouTube
time of
was
it
picking up
being
pace
just
there
new.
too.
Exactly. And I feel like that was like a perfect opportunity that was just hit with the nail on the hammer. Like, okay, I can gain an audience because what I'm feeling is very much what everyone else is feeling. And why not make them feel as though me having a platform can draw in these same people? and have them constantly seen as though what I'm saying is shared on a broader scope. Because I feel like once you see someone else talk about it, the people that may not know how to, I feel like it definitely gives a reassurance to that feeling. Because
Mhm.
who doesn't want to feel reassured about like, the uncertainties or the unknowns or the what ifs? Because I feel like that's often a big struggle, especially when you're struggling with, your mental health. It's scary to, open up to someone out of the uncertain reaction they may give or how they may react. And especially when you're a kid, you don't want to like, I feel like there's a misconception. Like if you go to adults, they often brush it off like, oh, well, it's fine. Just don't pay attention to it. Or, it'll be like out of your hair, like in time. And a lot of times, like it's very much brushed off. And unfortunately, it does lead to, in I don't want to say most cases, but the unfortunate cases where kids commit suicide. And the matter of helping and seeing the signs and showing awareness and giving them an opportunity to speak on themselves is very, very beneficial for that.
And it's a lot of that has to fall into like algorithm stuff like we're talking about
Mm-hmm.
before, because going off of what you said for children getting pushed to suicide, even it's like there's the article that I have here. It was talking about the algorithm of Facebook about suicides, attempted, failed, or regardless of age. And
Yeah.
it sets it in the algorithm. It's an algorithm that reads those articles and sees the comments, how much replies it has, and all that stuff, and it fits it into how relevant it is, and it sends it to people. And going off from that, imagine seeing something on your feed about suicide. It's
Yeah.
it's it's terrible to see that type of stuff, and why? And like I said, it's in an algorithm. Imagine seeing it on the news. Imagine seeing a young person seeing that. It's very depressing, and it starts weighing on people's heads, regardless of age. Seeing that,
Mm-hmm.
but I feel like it would impact the youth even more having being shown that. I mean, it's a
Mm-hmm.
reality, but having it readily available at the palm of your hand or just in your face on the computer, and
Mm-hmm.
young people have unlimited access to all this stuff, like all these articles, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat, hell, even Tumblr, if this was even going on back then when it was still
Mm-hmm.
relevant. It's it's just shoved in their faces constantly, and that for sure is affecting people's mental health.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody's.
I agree. It's just unfortunate. It's like the time we live in, social media does and start and end your day with the interaction. Unfortunately, I will be the first to admit it. Like, I, the first thing we look at often in the time in the morning is just immediately your phone. You want to see, Twitter, check your email, or check your text messages. Yeah, that's a interaction that we're gonna look at, or look on Instagram or whatever it is. And at the end of the day, yeah, we usually do that too. We want to see the last post or see that last video on YouTube, or what's the update on like Tumblr or
It's
our
so
TikTok.
addicting.
It's
Yeah,
addicting.
and
Yeah.
not a bad thing. It's just something that we came to, normalize. Like, yeah, like this is what has slowly accommodated us and our likings, and that's why we now like feel the need to like, oh, I have to go check up to see if my favorite creator posted on YouTube today, because like I remember they always post on Mondays, and I really want to go check, because if not, like, you know, that urgency and like kind of addictiveness, like, oh, I need to make sure, like, that just happens because it's something we really like. And oftentimes the resortment is, gravitate to something that makes you feel happy.
I feel like a lot of us adults have more restraint to it.
I agree to disagree.
I
Sometimes
think
yes, but some even adults I know. Like my parents, I feel like my parents are so addicted to Facebook, and it's not even
oh, you know
funny.
what? I'll agree with you on that one. Yeah, I agree. Never mind. I'm gonna take back what I just said.
Like there's a selected few. I say like us young folk. We have our restraints. Like okay, we'll look on TikTok or Instagram for like an hour, and then we gotta dedicate the next hour to work on a paper, study for an exam, maybe work on a discussion post. So like we like pick and choose, but I feel like my mom will sit on the couch and like scroll through Facebook and watch every single video on full blast, and I'm like,
Oh, and I know that one. I know what you mean. I hear in the living room, I could hear my dad listening to him full blast. He's like he's like deaf or something. Come on.
and that's the thing, like, I feel like my parents, like some things they will be like, oh, like I just saw this. Like my dad was like a while back was looking for a new generator, and he was like, like I got this ad, this generator was like great price, and I've been looking at some, but I didn't know like what was the perfect, and I was just like, that's like weird, but like you have been looking for that, and he was like so excited about it. I was like,
Judging from that, social media is affecting kids, like the minds of the youth, and I think social media for adults is really hurting our bank accounts.
Oh my
I know. I feel
I'll
like
say that wholeheartedly right now. Then
it does. It really does.
you
I ended up
advertisements to buy
buying
stuff.
something. I ended up buying like the sugar scrub because I've been seeing it come up on my feed so much, and I was just like, you know what? I'm just buy it. I don't care. I'm just gonna buy it, and I'm gonna like it. So I need to shut up.
Was it the Tree Hut brand?
Yes.
Oh.
She knows.
I was just like, I've been seeing it because the summer's coming around, and I'm like, I want myself to smell all nice and feel all soft, and I was just
What
like,
scent was
you know
it?
what? Tropical sun or something like that. And I was like, you know what? I'm gonna get it. It's on sale. I'm gonna get it. I'm gonna get it. And I kept seeing it from Ulta. I was like, I'm gonna see it. And I feel like the kids, like, a lot of times when they see something that like gravitates to them, like it just works out in the best way possible. Like, wow, like they like feel comfortable, they feel happy, they feel included. And it's like, yeah, I get excited when I see something that I've been wanting to buy, and I'm like, oh my god, I'm finally getting something.
You guys used to do that as kids, where you see something on TV and you're like, I want that, and you tell your parents or whatever.
Yes,
Or
I remember those days.
that I feel like is happening at a way more faster rate now, considering everything could get shoved in your face quick. Like, I need this, I want that. Mom, dad, get me
Yeah,
this.
I feel like as an adult, that's scary because like you're looking on like Instagram or Twitter and you see stuff like for the bathroom. Like I saw this shower head and I was like,
Oh
I
my
want to buy
god.
this. I'm like, what am I becoming? This mop, this one mop. It was like do it yourself, and like the water, it cleans out the water and like for you, and you only have to lift it. And I was like, it's
I've
only
seen that.
$40. Like I feel like us young, like even us, like we get targeted on stuff because I feel like even though we use it so much, like the algorithm, it kind of fits us perfectly too. It's like, oh, it's scary. It's like, oh, my wallet, it's getting drained, and I need to stop. I need to put my card away. I need to take it off Apple Pay because this is dangerous.
And regardless of being targeted, and I feel like anything, even if it's not something for sale, any
Oh yeah.
information is the thing
Oh
that could just get to anybody, especially young people. Because like I said before, they'll take anything. And
yeah. I feel like they're like sponges.
they're
They like
sponges,
will
exactly.
take everything, and they just like, oh my god. I feel like I think about that as a kid. Like, oh my gosh, I was just so like passive, like so. There's a term for that. I forgot what it's called, but you just like take everything. And you're like, wow, like oh yeah, like I don't know what it's called,
I was gonna
but
say
they
gullible, but
just
that's not it, right?
gullible. Yeah,
Is
I
it?
feel like I was so gullible as a kid, and like sometimes when an adult, I have to catch myself like that's not right. Yeah, that's not right. Yeah, it's just there's some interesting stuff, but I hope as time goes on, there is better resources and outlets that the youth can gravitate towards using, because you know the social media, internet's unfortunately always going to be there. It is. It might even get better or worse, but it's a matter of how we use it to our benefits. I think is the best thing that we can hope to aim for out of
Jessica,
everything.
you mentioned something about YouTubers earlier, didn't you?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, because it just reminded me. I did research and I actually found an article about YouTubers. So I know it's not that prevalent now, but like you know how like a couple years back, like the whole gothic style was like trending. So
Oh my god, yeah.
there was a study done on gothic YouTubers and how they influence their viewers, and they actually found that advantages to their viewers by watching gothic YouTubers actually provided them with a safe space to like express themselves and create connections with other people who share the same interests and even share advice based on their own experiences. And they even see like the gothic YouTuber as their mentor because you know not everyone's gonna be accepting of like their chosen lifestyle and like music taste and clothing. So just like the impact that like influencers on YouTube and social media have on like youth people is insane. Even if it's like good and bad, it's just crazy how much it impacts the adolescents.
That was the
Oh yeah.
goth style uprising then, huh?
I mean, more power to you. I feel like, that's a great way to like also just talk about it because I feel like, yeah, there's a misconception of what goth is, and I feel like it shows appreciation at the same time.
Mhm.
But there's also a bigger, picture of it where it does seem to a more darker tone of it. And I think that's maybe sometimes, romanticized, like I shared before. Like sometimes it could be a little misleading, but at the same time, it's not to down it as a bad thing because we're all able to express ourselves fluidly and freely as we please. But yeah, I feel like, YouTube has definitely been a big influence about what things can be distributed accordingly. Yeah, it's big.
Yeah, so I think we covered mostly everything, right? From what we had.
Yeah.
This one. All right, so I'll end this one here, and thank you for listening.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.